Hello, friends. This is the Netarts Friends Church podcast. We are Jesus people, Kingdom of God people, welcoming, yearning, sharing. And we're glad you're connecting here with us. We'd love to connect in person as well. If you're inclined to support this podcast or for more information, just hop on over to netartsfriends.org. That's netartsfriends.org. Let's jump into today's sermon. Self-doubt and comparison. Have you ever tried to walk through the grass on a dewy morning and keep your feet dry at the same time? Trying to walk through some form of self-doubt while keeping your feet dry from comparison can be about as tricky as trying to keep your feet dry while walking through dewy grass. We all know what it's like to encounter a question about our own self. Like, do I look good today? How's my hair? What am I good at? Am I capable? Am I recognized? What's my job say about me? How am I performing? What does my education or my credentials say about me? Do I know enough? What about my income, my house, my clothes, my car? What do they say about me? What about the trips and the vacations that I'm able to take? What about my personality? Do people like being around me? What do people appreciate about me? And on. Questions about me and how am I doing? We encounter loads of thoughts about ourselves every day. And when we encounter loads of thoughts like that, before we know it, we aren't just thinking about ourselves. Before you know it, you are thinking about someone else. You are using someone else as a measuring stick to evaluate yourself. It's, do I look as good as they look? And am I as good at my job as they are? Am I as skilled? How's my job stack up next to their job? How does my knowledge stack up next to their knowledge? My education and training next to theirs? I wonder how much money they make or how much money they have. How's my house, my car, my clothes look next to theirs? What kind of trips and vacations are they taking? Do people like them? How many friends do they have? How does who I am and how does my life measure up and stack up next to who they are in their life? And you're trying to figure out something about you, who you are, your worth, by comparing yourself to someone else. Self-doubt and comparison. Now we can see this dynamic playing out in our gospel story today. We are picking up in Luke chapter 22 with Jesus at the Last Supper. So here it is, Luke chapter 22, verse 20. In the same way, after the supper, Jesus took the cup, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood, which is poured out for you. But the hand of him who is going to betray me is with mine on the table. The Son of Man will go, as it has been decreed, but woe to that man who betrays him." They begin to question among themselves which of them it might be who would do this. A dispute also arose among them as to which of them was considered to be greatest. Can you see the progression? The situation begins with this question, like, is it me? They're all asking. Jesus said someone's going to betray him. Is it me? It's a question about, am I the one who might do this? It's self-doubt. It's a question about me. And then notice how quickly the situation moves into comparison and competition. Who's the greatest? We don't all aspire to the same image of greatness. For one person, being the greatest might mean being the most beautiful person in the room. For another, it's all about intelligence. For another, they want to be the most capable, the most indispensable, Someone else wants to be the funniest or have the most fun. For someone else, they care about having the most influence, control. Someone else wants to be morally superior. For another, being the greatest is all about image, wealth, success. For another, they just want to impress other people. Someone else wants to be well connected. Or it might be the ability to leave the most lasting legacy. And we could go on and on. We don't all aspire to the same image of greatness. Who is the greatest? I was standing in the dewy grass the other day, and I was watching this group of birds sitting on an electric wire trying to get themselves sorted out. And I snapped this photograph. One of them would fly to a new spot on the line, which would prompt another one to fly to a different spot on the line, which would prompt another one to reposition, and on they went, positioning, posturing, fluttering, around and around and around and around. And I couldn't help thinking of the unending way that we humans try to posture and position ourselves, and it is contagious. It spreads among us. Who is the greatest? Have you ever been in a room where people may not be openly, overtly talking about who's the greatest, but that is the question that's lurking in the background of the interactions? It's comparison. Everyone is very self-conscious. Everyone's trying to put their best foot forward. So some people are trying to say really smart things. Other people are trying to say funny things. Someone else is trying to say something impressive. Someone's trying to say something really wise. Another person's trying to make sure that they look good. There's a lot of posturing and positioning and chest puffing. And when you're in a room like that, it's contagious, and you can get caught up in the anxiety of it all almost without even trying. Who's the greatest? It's this chronic question, and we get caught up in it. And I call it a chronic question because this question of who is the greatest, it's not the first time we've seen this question or this comparison dynamic come up with Jesus's disciples. Luke chapter 9 shows us the same question coming up. We're in Luke chapter 22, but in Luke chapter 9, here's what it says. It says, an argument started among the disciples as to which of them would be the greatest. Jesus, knowing their thoughts, took a little child and had him stand beside him. Then he said to them, whoever welcomes this little child in my name welcomes me. And whoever welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. For it is the one who is least among you all who is the greatest. Now you might think that settles it. It didn't settle it. After spending 3.5 years with Jesus, who was constantly elevating the least among you all, the disciples were still dealing with this chronic comparison question, who's the greatest? And on the night of the Last Supper, they were still asking this question, who is the greatest? And Jesus said to them on the night of the Last Supper, the kings of the Gentiles lord it over them, and those who exercise authority over them call themselves benefactors. But you're not to be like that. Instead, the greatest among you should be like the youngest, and the one who rules like the one who serves. For who is greater, the one who is at the table or the one who serves? Is it not the one who is at the table? But I am among you as one who serves. In response to this chronic comparison question, who's the greatest, Jesus elevates children, he elevates slaves, he elevates the least among you all. Now, children and slaves and the least, these were people with no power, no status, no rights. Jesus says that they are the greatest. So what is this shift? What is this journey that Jesus was pointing us towards? And how does this actually translate to my life and to your life? I'd like to invite you to think of people who you would fill in the blank here with. So they're not as good looking as me, or they're not as smart as me, they're not as funny as me, they're not as moral as me, they're not as rich as me, they're not as successful as me, they're not as capable as me, they're not as needed as me, they're not as well liked as me, they're not as powerful as me. So who are people that are coming to mind as you think about this list? You may not say it out loud, but if you're honest, it may be comforting to have some people like this in your life, because then you are not the lowest person around. You aren't the least among the group. Jesus recognizes that we tend towards benefactor relationships with these people. In benefactor relationships, you tend to look down on that person. You might even pity them. And yes, you might do kind things for them. You might help them, you might do them favors, you might give them a place at the table, and in return, they praise you. You are the one who is great. You are the amazing person. And so you can point to yourself and you can say, man, look at how kind I am, or look at everything I'm doing for this person. Or you can just do that comparison thing where you say, wow, I do look pretty good, or I am pretty strong, or beautiful, or amazing, or smart, or whatever it is. You're the person with the most power in the relationship. This image of greatness shows up in the workplace, in family life, in church life, community life. It says, look at me. Look at what an incredible business I've created. Look at how much I'm doing for other people. Look at what an incredible person I am. Look at how much I give. Whatever it is that you are building, whatever it is that you're a part of, it reflects back on you. It's look at me. Now, in the picture of greatness that Jesus paints, a shift is meant to take place. I'm not sure it happens overnight, because for the disciples, it evidently took more than 3.5 years. I wonder if the change that happens begins when benefactor relationships become a genuine friendship, and you move from looking down on them to looking across at them. The relationship becomes more mutual. You start to see what this person actually has to offer, and you see them differently. You listen to more of their story, and you see how much they have overcome, and you develop a genuine appreciation for them. It's not just because they make you feel better about yourself, like in that benefactor relationship. You appreciate them because there's something truly special about them, and you notice strengths that you just had not noticed earlier at all. And the reason you want them around is because you're truly excited about what you can accomplish together. And the more time that you spend in that friendship, the more admiration you develop for this person, and you begin to actually look up to them. You come to realize, wow, this person is actually amazing. They are indispensable. It might be someone that you used to look down on. Maybe you used to even pity them, but now you say, when I grow up, I want to be like them. You realize that regardless of whatever their limitations are, because sure, people have limitations or disabilities or whatever it is, you realize they have mastered some things that I am barely a novice at, whether it's love or patience or faith or gratitude or generosity or some other people skill, some other life skill. You realize they have something to offer that I need and that this world needs. And you come to this place where you look at that person and you say, man, they're just the greatest. They're the best. They are amazing. And you have moved from me-centered greatness to we-centered greatness. You have moved from I have to be the best to celebrating a community, being a part of building a community that is the best through what we can accomplish together. And it's truly a privilege to be in the lives of these amazing people and share life with other people. The Apostle Paul describes it in this way. He says, the head cannot say to the feet, I don't need you. On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. The parts that we think are less honorable, we treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God has put the body together, giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the body, but that its parts should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. So, here's the final discussion question that we chatted about with one another. If this learning journey took the disciples 3.5+ years, it's okay to admit that we are still on a journey. What is your experience of moving from looking down on someone to looking across at them to looking up at them? Or perhaps you would describe it as a movement from pity to friendship to admiration and working together. How would you describe this journey? Thank you for joining us for a Sunday sermon from Netart's Friends Church. We hope you'll join us soon for one of our in-person worship gatherings. For more information, hop on over to netartsfriends.org. God's peace be with you, friends.